Yo, what's up, my wrestling peeps? It's your boy E here, the host of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast. Thank you for tuning into my show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We're going to start off with a little bit of a, NXT review. What happened was a pretty big Tuesday night for NXT. So we're going to jump into that. We also have AEW Dynamite happening, and we also, have the talk of, we have the buzz of the professional wrestling talk, basically, the scope. Tonight, I guess AEW is planning to air footage of CM Punk feuding with another superstar that ultimately led to him getting fired, which is kind of controversial because CM Punk is now a really highly paid WWE superstar. So that should be interesting to dive into. And just kind of capping it all off, the last two segments, we're going to talk about AEW and their declining viewership, as well as the kind of like a downward spiral for the promotion. Like, I hope it doesn't go away. That's not my wish. And, of course, I'm like at first I was a WWE/WWF fan, but I like AEW. I like WCW. I think competition makes you better. It puts out a better product. It kind of strives you to kind of, deep into your bag of creativity and kind of produce something that's good for the crowd. So, I'm hoping that that really works out for AEW. Then we're gonna finish it off. If the worst comes worse, if somehow AEW kind of goes under, they have the WWE to kind of go to, and with the upcoming WWE Draft, I'm gonna kind of go through some AEW / Ring of Honor / Impact Wrestling stars that could probably make a pretty good killing in the WWE with my pass or draft segment. So before we get into it, we get a number of viewers. Get a number of questions from the viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask you to use the tips or donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net with your questions. This puts your questions up on top so that I can see it. We can have a nice little back and forth conversation. Last time I had a podcast, I had somebody comment on, how Nathan Fraser of NXT kind of reminds him of Seth Rollins, and we talked about that. I talked about that, and obviously, I hope he was on the other side of it. But it was really super cool. I really love it when fans reach out and stuff like that. Like, that's dope. Like, that's super dope. And, it really helps the show, guys. A positive review can go a long way. Kind gestures lead to other kind gestures, and all in all, make the world a way better place. So, it really helps the show, guys. Peace, love, and positivity, baby. Again, the link is the gsmcpodcast.net. So, all right, let's go ahead and get on into it. We're going to go ahead and talk about our first segment, which is WWE NXT review. All in all, it was a pretty dope show. It was pretty cool, especially as a wrestling fan. Like, I liked it because of uh, you know they're kind of like the backbone of what WWE is kind of going to be. It's kind of like the reason why, if you're a college student, you apply to FAFSA and you get grants for your education. It's because they invest in you. They think that, like, pretty soon, obviously, the guys, higher ups and everybody, from CEOs to like employers at like at a Jack in the Box, or et cetera, et cetera. You're kind of like the future of what this country's going to be, going to rely on, and so that's why they want people to be educated. That's why they want to offer people, a chance at equality in terms of education, or equity. But all in all, this is kind of what NXT is. NXT is the future of the WWE, and I'm with it. A lot of good superstars. So WWE NXT kicked off with Roxanne Perez introducing herself as the new WWE Women's NXT Championship. She's kind of gone over, the cliff, so to speak. She is so heel right now. She's absolutely turning heel, and I believe she already demanded well, not demanded, but she already, let the people know that she is eligible for the WWE Draft coming up on the this month on the 26th and the 29th. So it's going to be interesting to see what she does with the title, which was kind of like what this episode of WWE NXT was kind of profound on. She kind of hinted at relinquishing the title, saying that no women in WWE NXT could possibly dethrone her or take the title away from her. And then, of course, Lyra Valkyrie came out with an arm sling and stuff, and it was kind of heartbreaking. I was like, oh, poor Lyra. But, you should have never accepted that match, bro. You had a chance, got too cocky. It was your fault. Don't blame anybody else for your faults. It's your fault, man. It's your fault. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. If Lyra Valkyrie was to ever watch this podcast, I would want her to know that she failed. I'm just kidding. No, no. Anyways, so she confronted Roxanne ultimately, and you had Tatum Paxley come out, and you thought, oh my god, like you have her best friend coming out, kind of like a protege of Lyra Valkyrie, and then she threw her against the steps. Classic WWE attitude adjustment. You can attitude there. You can see Shawn Michaels, his creativity, his work, and his ideologies behind this promo, where you kind of had Paxley like destroy her former friend, which they've been kind of hinting at, foreshadowing for the past couple of weeks on NXT. So I kind of saw this and I was like, yep, saw this coming. It's sad the person with the arm sling didn't see it coming, because obviously, you could have came back and fought, faster and stronger, but Lord only knows, when she's coming back. But, well, despite ripping on Lyra Valkyrie and her, misconnection and just kind of failing to engage the situation, especially when, obviously if you're hurt, kind of like what Seth Rollins did. What Seth Rollins did, he accepted a match, a grueling tag team match with The Rock and Roman Reigns. He teamed with Cody Rhodes, but ultimately, like, bro, you put that much strenuous on yourself, like, and then you have to defend your championship the next night, dude. Guess what? Not gonna happen. And lo and behold, now you had Drew McIntyre defeat him, and now you have Damian Priest sitting on top of that stoop. So you know kind of sucks for him, but so Natalya came out and ultimately wanted a shot at Roxanne Perez's championship. Roxanne Perez, of course, she denied. She's like, you don't get a shot, like this and that and the other. And then Ava, the NXT champion, who's been actually really like high on the WWE NXT women's division, kind of being the backbone, which has honestly, it kind of really has been. I really don't remember watching a wrestling promotion, if it was WCW, ECW, WWE/WWF, and seeing this many women's matches. Like, the women's matches are far outweighing the men's matches. Like, and it's crazy and it's cool. Kudos to them. That's awesome. They deserve like that kind of recognition, despite a whole era of not being appreciated and underpaid. But so you had Natalya coming out, and I kind of think Natalya is probably going to take the strap to kind of hold the WWE NXT Women's Division. She went like, obviously you need like a Hall of Famer or a really really seasoned veteran to go into the company and kind of work hand in hand with new talent, kind of bringing them up. Kind of like what I can imagine, like Shawn and Triple H talking to Natalya, obviously part of the Hart Foundation, the Hart family, and being like, look, like, you kind of need to, you want the moment to shine. This is your time to shine. Like, you can help younger superstars, come up through the company, and forever you will be known as like the best women trainer like ever. And she can get inducted into the Hall of Fame. She's probably already in in talks of being uh, officially inducted into the Hall of Fame, probably within the next couple of years. So that's exciting for Natalya. And then you had Javon Evans, a 19-year-old high-flying guy who has been shocking the world of NXT. I can see him challenging. Oh, but that Obafemi, man, that guy, you can't just beat that guy. Like, I don't know if he's going to be into. I think WWE Speed, which airs exclusively on X. I believe it's you have the WWE NXT, WWE Raw, WWE SmackDown, kind of all mixed into one. You kind of have all these high flyers. So maybe he'll make a killing in that. I believe he'll make a killing in that. Absolutely. Like, you have obviously my pick to be the champion is Ricochet, but this young guy, man, he's only 19 years old. That's insane. He's like stepping up to the pressure. He's killing it, and he's leaving Jaws down to the floor as he picks up his win week after week. So, good for Evans there. He said, and I quote, that life, what it's all about, it's family, friends, and having fun. That's like the best mentality to have. If you're ever stressed out at work, or if you're ever like, stuck in one of those binds, or if you had like, I don't know, because life happens. Life happens. You go through these trials. And what you kind of reflect on, kind of what you put your backbone on is friends and family, and then you kind of just try to take life one day at a time. Of course, you want to get the most fun out of life, but sometimes days are bad, and sometimes it's not fun. But you shouldn't ultimately give up. And I believe like you can see the encouragement and the enthusiasm and the charisma that this guy Evans holds. And you can see it, perpetuated in his matches. So, that's pretty cool. Next, you had Ridge Holland, backstage with a promo saying he regretted attacking Joe Gacy, but everybody in the back, including the LWO, was like, "Oh, we're not buying this apology tour. We're not doing, are you really? Are you really taking a step away from NXT for your family and for your wife and to mitigate any complications in terms of your personal relationships, romantic relationships, et cetera, et cetera?" And he was kind of put on the spot, and I kind of felt bad for Ridge because, like, he closed the the door on the hand of Wild, and I was like, oh my god, like it was one of those things where, like, if you saw it in a movie, you'd be like, man, what a jerk. But in reality, you're like, damn, like who know? He came back and he was like, oh my god, like why does this keep happening? Like, but all in all, I think that I'm glad to see Rich Holland back on NXT. At first, I was kind of afraid of him like really having troubles at home and stuff like that. Right now, I'm kind of believe like not not completely. I would say probably like 75 to 25% clear that this was kind of like a, part of the storyline, which is cool. You never want to find out one of your favorite wrestlers are having personal, dramas or, anything like anything at home, so that, obviously I hope the best for Rich Holland. So during the match, Lola Vice screws Natalya. During the promo, Natalya attacks Lola Vice. Lola Vice says that, you can't wait for your opportunity. You kind of have to do it yourself, and she did that. She was able to do that. She was able to attack Natalya, kind of not inserting herself into the NXT Women's World Championship title picture just yet, but I don't know if anything's gonna do it. It's gonna be this. Imagine a triple threat match or a fatal four-way match, including Roxanne Perez, Valkyrie, Natalia, and Lola Vice for that championship before the draft. So, it should be interesting to find out when it comes to that. You had the North Quarter Catch crew against the family, the Don, Tony D'Angelo, ultimately coming up short at NXT Stand and Deliver. Couldn't fend off the Dragon, Ilya Dragunov, but ultimately, I think that WWE NXT should kind of continue promoting this family, this Italian like kind of it's entertaining. Absolutely, it's entertaining as to watch as a fan. I can imagine like any Italians out there that are like, oh, it's cool, like you kind of see like your culture on screen kind of thing like that. Like I know like it might be like stereotypical and stuff like that. But hey, I think WWE's trying to like bring in like new fans or something like that. So, obviously, I hope nobody is offended by those stereotypes you see on the NXT, um, week after week. But I don't know. I think it's pretty. I like the D'Angelo family kind of doing what they're doing, and I can see them prosper in NXT from this moment forward. So should be pretty cool. Next, you had Ivar challenge Obafemi for the WWE NXT North American Championship. This was kind of cool because you kind of saw Ivar like kind of come out of being the Viking Raider and kind of showing his mic skills a little bit because you never really see him talking. He's coming to the ring with Valhalla. He always had his boy Eric, and you kind of see him kind of being sprouted out officially as a singles wrestler. Like I know like he's been wrestling singles wrestling for a long time, but he's always kind of came out as like the Viking Raiders with Valhalla, and it was more or less kind of like, oh, Ivar's forced to fight alone because he lost his tag team partner due to injury. Him coming out kind of right now, you kind of now you're kind of forced to acknowledge him as a singles competitor, let alone him coming down from WWE Raw to the NXT brand. So he's for a big guy, he can move. He can move. He's kind of like that Samoa Joe kind of thing. He's kind of like that like even Umaga could run. Like Rikishi was fast too. Like all these guys, although they may be big, these guys are faster than the speed of light, man. So don't underestimate them. I can see Ivar picking up the victory and finally to be the one to dethrone Obafemi. So, I'm super excited to see what they do with that. Next, you had Nathan Fraser and Axiom with their backs against the wall, were forced to split up if they did not win tonight against the Wolf Dogs. Ultimately, they did. And that's huge. That's absolutely huge for Axiom and Frazier, and also for the Wolf Dogs, Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker, because this kind of I don't know if they're going to be I don't know if they're going to be consumed by the draft and be drafted to Raw or SmackDown as singles competitors, which I would love, or they take the WWE Raw or SmackDown tag team division by storm and stay tag teams as they get drafted, which would be absolutely awesome. So, honestly, I thought this was a good move by WWE Creative, and I think it's just going to get better from here on out. But ultimately, the final testament came out at the end of the match. You saw Karrion Kross with Scarlett, and then you had AOP, make their debut back to WWE NXT, where they absolutely killed it for the longest time. And, attack Nathan Frazier and Axiom, kind of signifying that they're going to be the ones to, challenge for the NXT World Tag Team Championships next. So, and if to kick it up to, end this segment all off, we got Trick Williams. He did a promo where he challenged Ilya Dragunov for the WWE NXT World Championship. Dragunov agreed. Well, at first he disagreed. And then he agreed, saying that if Trick Williams can't beat him at during the title match, he has to, he's out of WWE NXT. And ultimately, Trick Williams was like, well, obviously, if I can't beat you, I can't beat the best, so I don't deserve to be at WWE NXT. And they shook hands, and I think Carmelo Hayes came out, and he, of course, that snake. But no, no, he came out and he attacked Trick Williams. Trick Williams, this episode of WWE NXT, wasn't able to whoop that trick. But, I believe ultimately that he will defeat Carmelo Hayes, because Carmelo Hayes challenged him to a cage match, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But, and obviously Ilya is trying to kind of beat him down, kind of get him nice and soft. So, he loses, and Trick Williams is never going to be able to fight in WWE NXT again. But ultimately, like I said, Dragunov is coming to the main brand, Raw or SmackDown, during the draft in 2 weeks. So why not have Trick Williams win the championship? Trick Williams is electric. I love Trick Williams. He's really over with the fans right now. Obviously, if I'm like totally talking about him right now, he must be a big deal, right? No, I'm just kidding. But no, he's really talented. He's really athletic, and he has what it takes to support a brand like WWE NXT. So, I see big things for Trick Williams coming up. All right, moving on. Our next segment, we're going to talk about AEW Dynamite, just a couple of the matches, and kind of like the drama that's going on in the professional wrestling world about them airing CM Punk's brawl, which ultimately caused them to get fired. So hey, let's dive on into it.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows with 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All all right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just to kind of reiterate what we talked about, segment one, we talked about WWE NXT, the future of Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin going in the draft, as well as Ilya Dragunov and Roxanne Perez. And what can you expect from the WWE NXT World Tag Team Champion division here on out? And we also talked about Trick Williams possibly being the one to take the WWE NXT title and kind of keep it at NXT, because if Ilya wins, Trick Williams cannot fight in NXT anymore, and he's forced to give up his whole career. So with his back against the wall, much like Nathan Fraser and Axiom, I think he's going to prevail. But before we get deeper into our next segment, we're going to talk about our tips and donations link. Make sure you guys hit that up if you want to talk. We get a number of questions through the show from our viewers. So to ensure that your question gets read on air and so that I can read it, it gets moved up to the top of the list so we can have a nice little conversation about it. Like I mentioned before, last show we had a chat come up. And it was a pretty good question. It was a question / statement, basically saying, is Nathan Frazier going to kind of be like the next Seth Rollins, based on his moveset and his abilities to kind of be high flying and also move off the ropes inside of the squared circle, which I completely agree with. I think Nathan Frazier is going to make it big, and he could very much be the next kind of like Seth Rollins. So the link, the tips and donations link at the GSMCpodcast.net. Leave a positive review, leave a question, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, tell me that I'm babbling on like an idiot. It's not nice. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, like this is my show, just as my, it's our show. We're wrestling fans, we're family. You walk into any bar, you walk in it like, I know I said this story before, like where I ran into a wrestling fan at Disneyland, and we ultimately kind of like clicked. He saw my Seth Rollins shirt and he was like, "Oh man, cool shirt." And after that, it was like, we're family. We're family. Anyways, the link again is the GSMCpodcast.net. So if you want to leave your tips and donations, to leave a comment so we can talk about it, ultimately ready to do so. So yeah. All right, we have our AEW Dynamite preview. This is AEW is not it's breaking my heart, but they're trying to hang in there, like, you know what I mean, especially with WrestleMania. Like, it's not easy, so I don't want to go too far off the wagon here talking about this kind of thing, because I'll save it for later. But let's just go over a little bit of what you can expect for AEW Dynamite. It's gonna be aired tonight live in Charleston Coliseum in Charleston, West Virginia, which is a beautiful state, by the way. I've been to West Virginia. Very green, very awesome, nice air and everything. Like, it was pretty cool. Not really humid, but this isn't a geography podcast, so let's move on. We have Samoa Joe set to face Dustin Rhodes for his AEW championship. Obviously, you had Dustin Rhodes' brother, Cody Rhodes, finish his story at WrestleMania. Can Dustin Rhodes finish his story on AEW Dynamite tonight? Highly unlikely. No, I'm just kidding. No. I'm not a hater. I actually really like Goldust. Goldust was like one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. But it's going to be a good match, but ultimately Samoa Joe is just... he's too dominant right now. He's like, you can't really fight that guy. Like, honestly, I had speculation that Swerve Strickland could have dethroned him, but I think they're waiting for someone special, or either waiting for MJF to come back, or like one of these grand gestures of like, heroic, rising from the dead kind of superstar mentality that they're kind of hoping that end Samoa Joe's title reign. Next, we have Adam Copeland defending his TNT championship against Penta El Zero M. So this match is going to be probably kind of like a mixture of kind of like a high-flying technical match, because I know Edge, like, he's not really the power kind of wrestler to have those power dynamics, but he's the one to, dig into his bag of tricks and kind of dig into his old school WWF/WWE TLC, where he can jump off the top rope, jump through the ropes, and ultimately hit like these, heavy blows, because I don't know, this guy, it's going to be hard to catch Penta, man. that guy's a high flyer as well. He's absolutely like insane good. He kind of reminds me of like, I don't want to say Kalisto because I don't want to stick to like the mask, like kind of wrestling kind of thing. But he's very aggressive and he's very like, he's insane to watch. Like, I think Edge, I keep saying Edge, Adam Copeland. I think Adam Copeland has his hands full tonight. I know a lot of people probably see this as like an easy win, but hey, I think he's going to get tested to his limits here. So should be interesting to see. Next, you have Tony Storm's champagne toast with Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa. I'm a huge fan of Thunder Rosa. Obviously, I listen to the Busted Open podcast with Bully Ray, Mark Henry, and the host. I can't think of his name right now. This is gonna kill me. This is gonna kill me. If anybody listens to the Busted Open podcast, and that's if you can chat the main guy's name, that would be very, very helpful. But ultimately, I think she can hold a company like AEW on her back. And so honestly, I think it's pretty cool. Like I'm I'm not completely sure if she did have an injury, but I think that she's totally over that. She's ready to take the next step into her relationship. And who knows what's going to happen when it comes to that champagne toast. Tony Storm, the timeless Tony Storm, she's really good. I remember watching her in WWE, now watching her in AEW. Although I feel like AEW don't really right now they're not really putting her into that many matches, which is kind of like, like me as a wrestling fan, absolutely love people wrestling, now that's kind of why I had that kind of like the mentality and the ideology that they should get rid of like baby faces and heels and just let the wrestlers be themselves and just wrestle. Like let what happens inside of the ring kind of like dictate if a person is heel or if a person is not heel. That kind of unpredictably, if this guy's a jerk, this guy's not a jerk, this guy wants the best for the crowd, this guy wants the best for the company. All that kind of stuff, it just excites a WWE fan or pro wrestling fan in general. So I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. You have Chris Jericho teaming up with Hook, teaming up with Katsuyori Shibata against Shane Taylor, Lee Moriarty, and Anthony Ogogo. So ultimately, I think Chris Jericho is going to get the win with Hook and Shibata because these guys are currently like, you kind of have this Hook Chris Jericho thing where can he really trust Chris Jericho? Despite everything Chris Jericho has done in AEW, what he's done in WWF, WWE, WCW, Chris Jericho has always he has the modus apparatus of someone that's really gonna, stab a knife in your back and kind of watch you fall and take advantage of you. Obviously, Hook is the FTW AEW champion, so I don't know if he's gonna go after that, but I don't know. I'm hooked. I'm hooked. Kind of punny. I'm just kidding. No, I don't want to, I don't want to strive any viewers away. Sorry, guys. Next, we're going to talk about, in our final story, we're going to talk about the Young Bucks are expected to present the backstage footage of AEW and the altercation between CM Punk and Jack Perry, which is, Jungle Boy. But, so it's been 8 months. That's Punk's final day at AEW. It's pretty crazy. Punk essentially, as soon as he got released from AEW, kind of buried it, kind of trashed him, and it was crazy because the reason why CM Punk said that he was not really, ready to continue his tenure within the AEW organization was that he had a problem with this guy Jack. And it was kind of like an employee complication or like kind of like some drama. CM Punk ultimately went to Tony Khan to talk about it, and Tony Khan, not knowing what to do, his reaction was not obviously diffusing the situation. Punk was pushed by Perry, and all Khan had to say about it was, like, hey, like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Like, and just, and all of us aren't wrestlers. I get that. Or you are a wrestler. That's pretty cool if you're watching this podcast, if you're a wrestler. But if you're not a wrestler, just imagine going to your 9-to-5 job. Or imagine going to, just somewhere where you have a boss and other like coworkers or partners or stuff like that. And obviously you have this fall in with another employee where they're being rude, or they might be like mocking you, or might be like, telling slanderous or, libeling behind your back, like who knows. But then you go to the boss and you're like, hey, like, I don't want this to turn into anything. I don't want to have to take measures into my own hands. Is there any way you can talk to this employee for me and kind of diffuse the situation so I don't have to come into work dealing with this BS? And then imagine your employer looking you dead in the face and be like, what do you want me to do about it? Like, it's just like, dude, like, are you kidding me right now? Like, that's terrible. That's trash. Like, you are a billionaire who teamed up with various wrestlers to create this thing that's supposed to compete against one of the biggest business conglomerates in sports entertainment history, the WWE. And you want to tell one of your employees that, what do you want me to do? Like, that's really, really like super unprofessional. And I think that's a, pretty crucial reason why CM Punk found a way to kind of get out of there. But CM Punk ultimately did kind of end he was on I think he was on MMA talk show or something like that, where he said that Tony Khan is a really nice guy. He's a really nice guy, and but he's not a boss, like, kind of thing. Like, and sometimes to be a boss, you kind of have to not you cannot you can't be afraid to like overstep the boundaries and kind of be a jerk just for like the betterment of the company, kind of thing. Like when it comes to situations like that where you have two employees like fighting, or you have a just a disrespectful culture, because that kind of stuff can rot an organization inside out. And that's not good. Like, you can see like a lot of things, especially not even in wrestling. Like, you can see that in the NFL and NBA, MLB, NHL. Like, if there's someone that's bad in the locker room, a lot of the other players are going to pick up off that. And kind of like, is this the culture in the locker room? Is this our team culture? Like, I'm out of here. Like, no one wants to be part of that. So you kind of have to respect CM Punk's decision of not moving forward when it comes to that kind of stuff. But like I said, ultimately he said that Tony Khan was a good guy. I don't know how much of that like was true, but there's also the fact that maybe, perhaps, maybe, just maybe, that maybe they kind of use this as a way to it's called the bait and switch, like where you kind of feel like you have to light the stage on fire just to kind of get a reaction. You get the attention. And former star, WWF star, Jeff Jarrett, now he's the AEW Director of Business Development. He spoke about the controversial topic, and he said, and I quote, you gotta blur the lines. You gotta blur the lines of professional wrestling. And him saying that kind of means, like, because WWE refuses to merge with any other wrestling brand, you kind of have to, kind of bring that in, kind of like what WWF did during the Attitude Era, where you had DX kind of invade WCW, and then you had Eric Bischoff air WWF being like, oh, don't worry about the other, missing Monday Night Raw, because here it is, you have the same, S word, on and on again. So don't worry about. Stay tuned to Turner Broadcasting, Monday Night Nitro, rolling on. Like you kind of have those things where, it's just, you kind of have to blur the lines there. You kind of have to push the fourth wall a little bit, and it's, as a wrestling fan, like, it just makes it better. Like, it's kind of, it kind of makes for like, oh, is it real or is it like a teaser? Like, you don't know what's going on. Like, you don't know if WWE is merging with Tony Khan's promotion, because according to sources, Triple H is not afraid to kind of not borrow superstars, but kind of let Impact wrestlers like Jordan Grace. Obviously, you see the addition of Jaden Cargill, and ultimately you see Cody Rhodes coming back to carry the company. So obviously, Paul Levesque isn't afraid to kind of cross those boundary lines or blur those lines. So honestly, I think it's what WWE, or what professional wrestling creative does, is try to kind of confuse fantasy with reality, which is kind of a huge reason why people love professional wrestling. I know for me, that's the reason why I love professional wrestling, is because sometimes you're like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I don't know if this is real. Like with the whole Rock and Cody Rhodes thing, like making them bleed. Like, I was like, oh my god, like, these guys hate each other. But ultimately, usually they have that, for the entertainment factor. But it's cool to ponder about it. Jeff Jarrett also said, obviously, the whole world is talking about WrestleMania and the WWE, which is right. Honestly, like AEW struggling numbers has a lot to do with WrestleMania, the WrestleMania season coming into effect. And it's not easy to compete with. So laying down a bombshell like this about how AEW and the Young Bucks or the Elite may or may not be trashing CM Punk on our brand, it brings a rise out of professional wrestling fans, which ultimately gets them viewers. So, you can't really argue about the thing about that. But kind of going back to and kind of capping this thing off, but talking about just Triple H and the possibility of with the merge with AEW or with AEW superstars officially coming over to WWE due to lack of representation through executive officers or people within the organization concerned about maybe they can't hold the company. Like, why do I want to keep sinking in my talent, my years, my chances of getting hurt? Which, obviously if the wrestler gets hurt and he's not able to compete in the ring again, what do? Do you switch to this 9-to-5 job? Flipping hamburgers or pushing carts. If a person is willing to put their whole body on the line, they want to make the best out of the situation they have with bigger contracts and something that's absolutely stable, which is relative to any sports star playing in the NBA, NFL, basically anything involved with sports and your body. So just kind of cap it all off just to let you know that Keith Lee was seen at the WWE Hall of Fame, which is pretty crazy. Also, you have Matt Cardona kind of connected to the WWE through his wife, Chelsea Green. Not Chelsea Gray. Who's Chelsea Gray? Maybe it is Chelsea Gray. I don't know. But I'm sorry. And then you also had Aleister Black. I don't know if he's still dating Zelina Vega or not. MJF is great friends with Cody Rhodes. Paul White and Billy Gunn, obviously they are WWE Hall of Famers. They can definitely be in contact with Triple H. And you have Dustin Rhodes, brother of Cody Rhodes. You have Sting also in the WWE Hall of Fame. Mark Henry connected to wrestling just in general. So I don't know. This makes you think that if these former if these former WWE superstars / WWF really they joined the creative AEW for a reason. And I think once when Vince kind of had his allegations and kind of bounced out of the WWE, I think they were able to kind of have a better show with AEW. They were way better as soon as they first started because Paul White, Mark Henry, former WWE execs like Billy Gunn and Jeff Jarrett, they all knew how Vince McMahon ran the WWE. So they kind of knew what to expect from their competitor. But he's out, Triple H is in. You don't necessarily know what Paul Levesque is going to do, which is why I feel like the creative in AEW is kind of at a standstill. They're like, oh shit, oh snot, there's this guy it's totally fresh, totally hot out the wagon. What do we do? What do we do? And as opposed to back in the day where Paul White and wrestlers that joined AEW or WCW were like, yeah, let's trash Vince. Let's get that effing guy. Now you kind of have Paul Levesque and all these guys have respect for Paul. And they're like, I think Paul's going to make a pretty good product. I don't want to do anything to maliciously hurt WWE anymore or WWF because they're close friends with Paul Levesque. So this kind of is a huge reason why I feel like AEW is, highly in trouble. It should be interesting to see here on out how AEW's numbers and viewerships go. But ultimately, I think, I think they might be in a little bit of trouble, which is going to segue into our next segment. Is AEW fading? I know people, if you're watching right now and you feel like I'm picking on AEW, I'm not. I love AEW, like I said before, and obviously I wanted to stick around. So you stick around.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just to kind of reiterate what we talked about, segment 1 was talking about WWE NXT. And segment 2, we talked about how we talked about AEW and Dynamite. We also talked about the possibility of, superstars maybe jumping ship, jumping from this Titanic, hitting an iceberg. But, like I said before, I hope they're doing okay. But, so it is clear, is AEW fading? I think it is. I hate to admit it, and I really hope it doesn't happen. But, I don't know. AEW Dynamite sales has been, went down in 2024. That just makes you think that, is it thanks to WrestleMania? Is it thanks to the Paul Levesque era? And that's the reason why AEW can't, move tickets. So I don't know. That's pretty crazy. Like, you have to really respect AEW. Because AEW got off to a hot start back in 2000, and I think they got a hot start in 2020 because it was just the same product going on with WWE, but it was kind of like just like a change, kind of like something. And I know that because I watch wrestling, night in and night out. I was like, oh, okay, here we are. It's predictable, and it was like something hot and something fresh that wrestling fans desperately needed. They desperately needed AEW, and WWE desperately needed AEW to kind of get their head out of their ass and be like, look, like something needs to change here. We need to compete with these guys. Like, they're not just some small promotion from the Jim Crockett, organization. They're actual players and stuff like that. So that's why you kind of have to respect AEW. And I thought it was pretty crazy how I feel like I'm really strong. I really have that strong belief that they picked up on Vince's tendencies. That's the reason why they kind of had that hot start, and why they were kind of wrestling fans alternatives to like a more better organization or like entertainment value. But because you have to think about it. Like, now you have Paul Levesque, the Paul Levesque era. He's unable to predict. Obviously, he wrestled for the longest time. They're able to cut better promos, storylines, promotions, better weekly shows, etc. Like, it's crazy. And WWE signed a massive streaming deal with Netflix for WWE Raw. So that's going to also, kind of accumulate into the reason why AEW might fall. And, you have a $5 billion deal over 10 years, possibly 15 years. Like, that's insane. That's probably the biggest thing ever. And with Netflix kind of, not, kind of being like, hey, honestly, if you want to push it to PG-13, we can do that. And Netflix, one thing I give really, real quick, one thing I really give props to Netflix is that their ability to kind of center around not just high-end box office like Hollywood movies. You kind of have movies from all over the country, like from Bollywood, from Nollywood. You have things from Nigeria, like films that are really good films. And a lot of people just be like, oh, I just want to see like things you see in movie theaters and stuff like that. But just give it a shot. Like, I took a cinema class in college, and I was not forced. It was the curriculum to watch like 10 movies, and to be honest, I watched it. Like, that's Asian cinema, like I said, Nigerian, Bollywood, like Nollywood. Like, it was good stuff. It was good stuff. So just expand your mind a little bit. But moving on, they signed a massive deal. Obviously, you kind of have to be, with the executives leaving AEW, that kind of leaves talent. They took a $34 million loss in 2023, so that's huge. And it kind of makes you to think that with AEW struggling right now, and with WrestleMania 40 being the best WrestleMania of all time, did WrestleMania 40 finally put that nail in the coffin for AEW? Like I said, I'm not trying to pick on him, and I really hope that it didn't. But it's crazy. And even prior to the Netflix deal, WWE had talks with moving to WBD, which is Warner Brothers Discovery, which they would have aired on Turner television networks like TNT and TBS, which would have been absolutely detrimental for AEW. So obviously, I hope it doesn't happen, but something's going down, guys. Something going down. And there's been just recent talks that AEW really hopes that they want to use a ranking system. They want to use a ranking system in order to bring back fans. And and I think that's obviously you get to the point where you're willing to try anything, but I don't think this is the right thing to do. I read an article by Alfred Kanua at Forbes magazine, and he put it right. He put it absolutely right. He said AEW doesn't need a ranking system. It needs star power. It absolutely needs star power. And you got to, that's absolutely right. You lose Cody Rhodes, MJF to injury, Sting retiring, like CM Punk gone due to, organizational problems where Nick Khan was afraid to step in and do anything about a situation. And honestly, you kind of look at these recent signings and you're like, well, that explains a lot, because you had Mercedes Moné, you had Will Ospreay, Matt Cardona, and then now you have Chris Jericho, going, turning face and stuff like that. These are all, I feel like, the acts of a desperate man. And I'm not dogging on the guy, but honestly, I don't think Tony Khan can run a business. He's part of the board in the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I know this has nothing to do with wrestling, but the Jacksonville Jaguars started off hot, and then they took a, and it's just like, sometimes you can be a boss, and sometimes you can run an organization, or sometimes you're not. But comparing apples to oranges here. But moving on, just kind of finishing this off. So can AEW stay alive, or will it end up like WCW? Just because they were on the same channels as WCW doesn't necessarily mean they're the same brand. The good thing about AEW was Tony Khan teamed up with other wrestlers to create from scratch its own entity, which is pretty cool. That's pretty hot. Ted Turner bought a wrestling company that was already built, the Jim Crockett promotion, which was already currently airing on TBS in 1988. Turner was able to buy the company and ultimately create World Championship Wrestling. So, that's pretty cool. And you also have to think about it in this way, that when Ted Turner bought Jim Crockett and created WCW, the ingredients that made JCP, Jim Crockett's promotions, were kind of already in place. You kind of had Ric Flair. You had the Four Horsemen. You had Dusty Rhodes. You had Sting. You had all these guys that already had a huge fan base around them, all ready to go. So, and AEW, they still struggle to this day. Even it's crazy. I read this article and I was like, wow, that's the reason why. AEW has, they don't really have a huge library such as the WCW or Jim Crockett or even the NWA. It's crazy. But all AEW really has is their own shows. You have AEW Dynamite. You have Rampage, you have Collision, and then even on YouTube they have shows like AEW Dark, AEW Dark Evolution, and I don't know. That's just kind of crazy, because I feel like for the longest time I thought to myself, I was like, damn, these guys are wrestling 3 or 4 or 5 shows a week, that's crazy. And it's just to build up this video library, this able to where you kind of type into a search engine like Hulk Hogan or Sting or Bret Hart. And you just have all these things pop up, and it's just to kind of put your name synonymous with the most searched wrestler, which is why they got Mercedes Moné, Will Ospreay, and et cetera, Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. But the only thing that I kind of Tony Khan compares to Vince, as he likes to kind of micromanage. Instead of letting people kind of be creative minds in the field, kind of like Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo in WCW and the Attitude Era. And it just kind of leads to the demise of organizations. Like, look at the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of people believe that the Dallas Cowboys aren't a good franchise, and they are on the teeter, they're on the balance beam of going over because Jerry Jones is constantly micromanaging. He's like you see the guy in press conferences. Like, do they interview Mike McCarthy after a loss? No, they're going to talk to Jerry Jones. And sometimes, like, you got to let people do their thing, man. And that's ultimately, that's why I believe the Dallas Cowboys are terrible right now, is because that Jerry Jones is, obviously he's an influence, but, we'll move on more on that, when we, this isn't a football podcast. We have a football podcast with my boy Kenneth. Check it out on the GSMC Sports Network. And it's crazy how, WCW was kind of built on former stars like Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, Kevin Nash, etc., etc. And AEW should be admired because they, like I said, they built it from scratch. Where they had Cody Rhodes, they kind of had Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, Chris Jericho, and then you had the Young Bucks as well as Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega to kind of carry that, carry that brand, kind of carry that thing while they kind of we're ready to rumble with Vince McMahon. So we're running out of time here, but hopefully I can get done with my first segment. It's gonna be pass or draft. I'm gonna be talking about AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan Wrestling, Impact stars that could possibility jump ship from the teetering, from the Titanic sinking of the Tony Khan promotions and kind of make the jump into the WWE Draft. So hey, don't go anywhere.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right. Welcome back to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Just kind of reflect on what we talked about. We had our segment 1 about WWE NXT review. We had our segment 2 about AEW preview, what's going to happen with the whole CM Punk thing. And we had our segment 3 talking about is AEW fading and kind of like their comparisons to WCW. So, our fourth segment, we're going to talk about pass or draft. It's kind of a segment that I created. We're going to go through, just in case some crazy stuff happens. And, Tony Khan loses these wrestlers. I just want to see where they would fit with WWE. First, we have, Julia Hart. Like, honestly, I would probably say draft. She would be probably really good in WWE NXT. I can see her kind of killing it there. And, all in all in that. Next, we have Okada. Okada recently, he's the Continental Champion for AEW, defeated Eddie Kingston. Honestly, I would draft him into SmackDown, kind of bring in something like that, maybe have him feud with somebody like Randy Orton, or maybe even challenge Logan Paul for the United States Championship. That'd be pretty, honestly, that'd be pretty dope to watch. This guy's a talented, superstar. He's a talented, he's been in and out of the organization for the longest time, so he has something good. And next we have the Hangman Adam Page. Although I think he'd be really good. I think he should probably stay with like a smaller company. Like, I'm not saying that WWE wouldn't need him. I'm just saying like there's so many because he'd be like a heavyweight title contender. And right now you kind of have everybody like scratching toward the title, and you kind of have Paul Levesque kind of having the idea of who's going to challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Championship at Berlin, Backlash, and also Clash at the Castle. Kenny Omega. Oh, man, I love Kenny Omega. Absolutely draft this guy. Draft this guy, he automatically becomes a complete arsenal in your book of rosters that could bring a crowd of easily 100,000 people. This guy is money. This guy is he's a switchblade. He's a Swiss Army knife. He's like the perfect combination of power, agility, speed, high fly arrow attacks and stuff like that. So I would draft him. Next we have Brian Cage. He was seen in a recent video with Drew McIntyre working out, but to be honest, I don't really see him fitting anywhere in SmackDown or Raw's. Right now in their plan, I guess you can say, or their storylines. Obviously, if he came, he would make a killing because he's a talented dude. But this guy could make a killing in AEW. So I'd be like, look, like, dude, you would go from like challenging for the Anaconda Championship to challenging for, the AEW World Heavyweights. But anyways, moving on, we have Darby Allin. I love Darby Allin. This guy kind of reminds me of obviously he got his name from Gigi Allin. I don't know if a lot of you guys know who Gigi Allin is. He was pretty crazy. But you see his matches, and this guy puts everything on the line. This guy's like the new and improved Mick Foley. So to be honest, I would draft him. I would absolutely draft him. We don't have the hardcore division anymore, but I think you can squeeze Darby Allin into any really a storyline. Next, we have Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston recently, he's lost his Continental Championship to Okada. He's lost the Ring of Honor Heavyweight Championship to Mark Briscoe. And to be honest, I'd say pass. I give a huge pass. I'm not trying to diss on Eddie, because I believe he's an innovator and he's a scholar. But I don't know. I don't think he has. I don't think WWE really could afford to get this guy. All right. Next you have man, what was this guy's Al? No, not Alex. But anyways, like this guy, he's part of the Bullet Club. And I recently saw. I can't believe I'm spacing on his name. Why am I spacing on his name? But recently he attacked Darby Allin, and I don't know. I don't really see him fitting in WWE because I think what he's doing with the Bullet Club right now, and you kind of need him in those trios matchups. Next we have Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe. He's newly the World Ring of Honor champion. He won it at Supercard. I like him. I like him a lot. So I would say draft him, but that's just me and my bias. Would the WWE draft Briscoe? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you need a crazy, lunatic fringe to replace Dean Ambrose. No, honestly, that would be pretty cool if he would be kind of like the next lunatic fringe, kind of piece of the puzzle. Swerve Strickland. I like watching Swerve. I think he's a talented guy, very dominant. I like his promos. He was I think he was a rapper at one point. He was pretty good. But I'm going to say pass. As much as I would like to say yes, I'm going to say pass on Swerve. I'm going to swerve away from the Swerve. But no, not taking away from his talent, and I don't know if he would fit in WWE. He might be like a judge. Imagine if he joins the Judgment Day. I'm just kidding. No, he wouldn't fit in the Judgment Day. Next, we have MJF. MJF, I think, would be an amazing piece to Cody Rhodes' next story. So I'm going to say draft. I think Cody Rhodes is going to get drafted to Monday Night Raw. And I hope that'd be awesome if MJF didn't sign a contract with AEW and ultimately finds himself fighting beside Cody Rhodes. Kind of lead it into kind of like a feud, not, kind of going into SummerSlam would be pretty awesome. But, all in all, I think I did a podcast about this, a couple weeks ago, and I don't think they're going to really sign MJF. Next, we have Anna Jay. I like Anna Jay. I think she's a talented wrestler. Not really NXT material, but I can see her getting drafted to a Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw has Maxine Dupree, Indy Hartwell, and Candice LeRae. So, Anna Jay is levels above those wrestlers. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to kind of base it off what I've kind of seen via film kind of thing like that. So, don't be too mad at me. Sheeta right now, she had her, feud with Athena, but she's really good. She's really good. Maybe she can be a piece to Damage Control, and I'm not trying to be stereotypical or, anything like that. But, she was a wrestler that a lot of these girls like Io Sky and Kairi Sane kind of looked up to. Kind of like the newly, Hall of Famer, oh man, Bull Nakano, kind of like one of those things. So that'd be pretty cool. Next, we have Mercedes Martinez. Mercedes Martinez, I picked to win the women's television championship at Ring of Honor. Ultimately, that did not work. but she's a hell of a talent. She's a hell of a talent. She would do really well on SmackDown. I could see, oh my God, I would love to see her fight like Rhea Ripley or Bailey. I think that WWE should draft that girl. Next, we have Willow of Nightingale. Willow of Nightingale, like she's kind of like that. She's kind of like that lovable, that huggable kind of that personality. I like to compare her to Bailey. I kind of see her like kind of like being the Bailey of the AEW. Right now she's kind of she has a really good feud with Mercedes Moné. Well, not feud, but it's kind of like a unspoken like she kind of injured Mercedes Moné, and that was the reason why she kind of was on the shelf for a little while. But honestly, I would pass just because I kind of want to see how that all works out. Next, we have Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, he's obviously been in WWE before. I would love to see him back. But ultimately, he said the reason why he kind of left was that WWE, ownership was a little wonky and the way they were negotiating his contract. But obviously, it's not like that anymore with the Paul Levesque era. So who knows, like if Samoa Joe will ever come back. But Samoa Joe kind of has this personality of like, you can't really tell me what to do. And that's his person on screen. And that's the reason why people love him. That's the reason why I love him. So yeah, those were the AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan wrestlers, Impact wrestlers that I would sign to WWE or kindly pass. And like I said, not trying to be mean or anything like that. I'm not trying to say AEW is going under because I really hope it doesn't. But you got to prepare for the worst, man. That's my disaster kit. I'm just kidding. No. With all that. Well, guys, I hope you like my show. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show and leave a positive review here at the GSMC Sports Network. We love peace, love, and positivity, baby. It really does make a difference, guys. I would love to hear you guys talk more than I feel like I'm rambling on. I feel like I haven't stopped talking in like an hour or something like no anyways so we invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter /X, on TikTok, Instagram for more content and updates. Remember, if you kind of exploring a little bit of podcasts, we have more podcasts. We have about baseball, football, basketball, just sports in general. We have the Andrew Tate Show, and the GSMC network also has podcasts just about anything that under the sun. We are an entertainment conglomerate that are that loves our viewers. So, just remember, if you're not into sports, and if I didn't make you a wrestling fan by now, you have other options. But stay with me. Stay with me. I'm just kidding. No. Well, I'm not just kidding. No, that I don't want you to stay with me. But I know you guys don't want to hear me sing. One episode I just want to devote to singing karaoke. I'm just kidding. No, anyways. Thank you once again for tuning into the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, and have a phenomenal day.